The version of yourself that you've been calling balanced is not balanced. It's managed, it's monitored, it's held at a careful middle distance from anything that could actually move you. And you've been calling that growth. Stay with that for a second, because if what I just said landed somewhere in your chest, that's exactly where this conversation needs to go. I want to start with a confession. Every time I hear someone say they're working on their divine masculine or healing their feminine, I have to resist asking them what they think those words actually mean. Because most of the time, when I ask, what comes back is a description of a mood board, a feeling tone, a vibe they're moving toward. And that is not what we're talking about today. The divine masculine and the divine feminine are not genders, they are not vibes, they are not archetypes you adopt like a new wardrobe. They are two fundamental orientations of consciousness, two different ways of being in relationship with reality that every single human being, regardless of body, regardless of identity, carries inside them, both of them, simultaneously, in various states of development and distortion. The masculine orientation is fundamentally about direction, clarity, the capacity to move through the world with a sense of purpose that isn't contingent on external validation. It is presence that holds, not control, not dominance, but a kind of structured stillness that other people can actually rest against. You've felt this in someone. You've walked into a room and felt someone's groundedness before they said a word. That's it. That's the masculine functioning well. The feminine orientation is fundamentally about receptivity, not passivity. Those two words are not synonyms, and confusing them is one of the most expensive mistakes in this entire conversation. Receptivity is an active, intelligent capacity. It's the ability to feel the full texture of what's happening without needing to immediately fix it, categorize it, or defend against it. It is the capacity to move from intuition without needing to justify the intuition first. It is what makes someone magnetic, not performed magnetism, but the actual thing, where a person is so genuinely present in their own experience that being near them feels like a relief. Now, 3 things I want to demolish before we go any further. Misconception 1. Masculine energy belongs to men, feminine energy belongs to women. No. These are modes, they are not assignments. A man can spend his entire life operating from a wounded feminine orientation and never once question why his relationships feel like chaos. A woman can wall herself so completely inside a rigid masculine shell that she hasn't felt her own body in years and calls it strength. The misidentification of these energies with biological sex is not just inaccurate, it is the specific confusion that keeps people stuck, because it means they're looking for healing in completely the wrong place. Misconception 2. Balance means having equal amounts of both. That is not balance. That is beige. A 50-50 split between masculine and feminine, held rigidly, simultaneously at all times, produces a person who is neither fully directed nor fully receptive, who can't commit to a position and can't fully surrender to a feeling. Real health is not the middle. Real health is range. The capacity to move cleanly into deep masculine presence when that's what's needed, and to move just as cleanly into full feminine openness when that's what the moment calls for. What most people call balance is actually the inability to tolerate the intensity of either extreme. Misconception 3. Healing one automatically heals the other. It doesn't. Someone can do 15 years of feminine healing work, somatic work, emotional attunement, learning to receive, and still have a completely unexamined, wounded masculine running their professional life, their decisions, their relationship to commitment. The two wounds are not mirrors of each other. They have different origins, different behavioral signatures, and different healing paths. You have to look at both, separately, with honesty, which is what we're about to do. I want you to think of someone you know, maybe it's you, who shows up completely, who is reliable, who provides, who problem solves faster than anyone in the room, who is, by every measurable external standard, doing everything right, and who, when someone they love starts to cry, immediately starts talking, Not to comfort, to fix, to move past the feeling as efficiently as possible because the feeling, someone else's feeling, is creating an internal emergency they have no idea how to be present for. That's the wounded masculine, not the tyrant, not the aggressor. The person who learned, somewhere early enough that they don't remember learning it, that other people's distress was a problem to be solved rather than an experience to be held. That presence meant doing, that love meant having an answer. The wounded masculine is not a man standing over someone. It's a man sitting 3 inches away from someone he loves, nodding, reaching for solutions, genuinely trying, and functionally absent. His body is there, his nervous system checked out the moment the conversation stopped being solvable, and he has no idea. Because the wounded masculine does not experience itself as fear. It experiences itself as competence, as leadership, as love even. The very thing that is keeping it from actual intimacy feels, from the inside, like responsibility. This is what makes it so hard to name and so hard to change. The wounded masculine can also live inside a woman. It shows up as the woman who cannot ask for help without immediately framing it as strategy, who relates to her own body's needs as inefficiencies, who runs her relationships the way she runs a project, with timelines and expectations and a quiet, simmering disappointment when the people around her don't perform to spec. She's not cold, she's armored. And she built that armor because at some point, being soft cost her something she wasn't willing to lose again. The embodied masculine looks completely different. Same man, different moment. His partner is crying. He sits closer. He doesn't speak for a full minute. He puts his hand on her back and he stays there. He doesn't reach for a solution because he understands, actually understands in his body, not just intellectually, that his presence is the solution. His nervous system has learned to tolerate her emotion without treating it as a threat to be neutralized. He can be moved by her without being destabilized by her. That's not weakness. That is the hardest thing a masculine nervous system learns to do, because it requires giving up the only tool it was ever taught to use. The bridge between those two versions of the same person is not a concept, it's a practice. And it usually begins with one sentence. I'm here. I don't need to fix this. I can stay. The wounded feminine is equally misunderstood, and possibly more dangerous to the person carrying it, because it wears the costume of virtue so convincingly. Here's what it actually looks like. A woman who says yes to everything, who's warm, generous, accommodating, never difficult, always available, who reads as deeply loving to everyone around her, and who goes to sleep every night with a low, quiet, inexplicable exhaustion that she cannot trace to any specific source. The wounded feminine does not say yes because she wants to. She says yes because she was trained in ways subtle enough that she cannot see the training, that her no was too costly to speak, that her own preferences were either an imposition or a risk, that the only safe version of herself was the one that other people needed her to be. She did not choose this. She survived this. And the survival mechanism became the identity. The wounded feminine performs receptivity. It looks like openness. It feels like warmth. But underneath it is a constant, low-level monitoring of other people's states. Are they comfortable? Are they pleased? Is there any sign that I have failed them? That has nothing to do with genuine connection and everything to do with fear management. When that disappears, what's left can feel terrifyingly empty because she has never learned to locate herself outside of other people's experience of her. The wounded feminine also lives in men. It shows up as the man who molds himself into whatever the woman in his life needs him to be, who loses his position the moment she pushes back, who agrees in the moment and resents later, who says, I just want you to be happy, and means it, and also uses it as a way to never actually show up with a clear preference of his own, which means he is never truly present, only ever accommodating. That's not love. That's chronic self-abandonment in love's clothing. The embodied feminine is different in one specific, precise way. She is honest while remaining warm. She can say, "I don't want to do that tonight," not with an apology, not with a 3-paragraph explanation, and stay soft while she says it. There's no coldness, no withdrawal. She's not withholding. She's just telling the truth. And that truth comes from somewhere inside her that she's learned to trust more than the discomfort on someone else's face. That capacity to disappoint someone you love and not collapse is not hardness. It is the exact opposite of hardness. It is security. The kind of security that can only come from having a relationship with your own interior experience that is more primary than your relationship with how other people feel about you. That's the healing path. Not becoming less warm, becoming warm and honest simultaneously. Now I want to talk about what happens between two people, because this is where everything we've covered becomes tangible. This is where people feel it in their bodies. There's a couple. They've been together 5 years. By every objective measure, things are good. They communicate well, they split responsibilities fairly, they respect each other. They are, genuinely, a good team. And somewhere around year 3, the desire started to quietly drain out of the relationship. Not dramatically, no affair, no betrayal, no crisis, just a slow, incremental cooling that neither of them can explain, and both of them privately wonder if they're supposed to just accept. What happened is not complicated, but it took me a long time to be able to describe it without reaching for spiritual language. What happened is that both people, in the name of fairness and partnership and doing everything right, collapsed the polarity between them. Polarity is not about gender roles. I want to be precise here. Polarity is about differentiation, about two nervous systems occupying genuinely different energetic positions in relation to each other. One moving toward direction, structure, presence, and the other moving toward openness, depth, receptivity. When that differentiation exists, there is a charge between two people. When it collapses, when both people occupy the same energetic register simultaneously, the charge goes flat. This is not because something went wrong. This is because two people who are both excellent at doing and managing and optimizing and discussing have created a very functional relationship. Functional is not the same as alive. Here's what the research in attachment and relationship neuroscience actually says. What creates desire between two people is not familiarity, it is the recognition of difference. The moment where you see the other person as genuinely other, genuinely separate from you with their own interior world that you cannot fully access, is the moment where desire is possible. Not the moment you've figured each other out, the moment you realize you never completely will. Most couples, in their efforts to build safety and equality, accidentally eliminate the conditions that make desire possible. They become so merged, so mirrored, so consensual in everything that they stop being two distinct people encountering each other and become one organism managing itself. And then they wonder why the spark left. The spark left because differentiation left. What I'm not saying is that one person needs to dominate and the other needs to submit. That is the distortion of polarity, not its expression. What I am saying is that within a relationship, two people need to know which energetic orientation they are primarily inhabiting, genuinely, not performatively, and they need to stop flattening that difference in the name of fairness. Fairness in division of labor is important. It is not the same as energetic sameness. You can split the dishes equally and still hold radically different positions in a room. Those two things do not conflict. Unless you've been taught that equality means uniformity, which most of us have. I want to pause here for a moment, because if any part of this conversation is landing for you, the polarity piece especially, I want you to write down one word that describes the energetic position you most often occupy in your closest relationship. One word, not an analysis, not a story, just the word that comes before you can edit it. That word is going to mean something by the end of this episode. Hold on to it. If you want to go deeper on this work, the episode notes have a few specific resources I trust, not the usual list, but 3 things that have actually moved people. The link is in the description. And if this episode is useful to you, sharing it with one person who needs it is the most generous thing you can do. I've been sitting with the word balance for years, and I still don't fully trust it. Because when I ask people what they mean when they say they want to find their balance, what I hear underneath the word is something closer to, I want to stop feeling so uncomfortable with my own intensity. And I understand that. The intensity of a fully alive masculine, the kind of directed, unwavering presence that doesn't need anyone's permission, is threatening. To the person carrying it and to the people around them. The intensity of a fully alive feminine, the kind of raw, truth-telling receptivity that feels everything without immediately converting it into something useful, is terrifying. To the person experiencing it, and to everyone who has been taught that feelings are problems. So people seek balance. What they find is managed flatness, a careful middle distance from their own most alive places. Here is what I want to offer instead of balance as a goal. Think about it as range, not a position you settle into, but a capacity you develop. The masculine capacity, how far into genuine direction, genuine presence, genuine structural authority can you move and return from? The feminine capacity, how far into genuine openness, genuine feeling, genuine intuitive knowing can you go and return from? The goal is not the middle. The goal is the ability to traverse the full distance. Someone with real range can walk into a boardroom and hold a room with complete masculine authority, and walk into a hospital room with someone they love and be completely soft and present without 1 ounce of their armor. Not because they've suppressed one side, because they've developed both and they know which one the moment is asking for. That person is not balanced in the conventional sense. They are mobile, they are resourced. They are not stuck at either pole and not hiding in the middle. That's what we're actually building toward, not peace as numbness. Alive as a state you can inhabit without needing to manage it. I'm going to give you 3 things, not 12, not a framework with a funnel and a worksheet. 3 specific perceptual shifts that you can begin this week, tied to moments you will actually encounter. The first one is for the people with a wounded masculine pattern, whether you're a man or a woman. The next time someone you love is in pain, not a problem, pain, your job is to do exactly one thing. Stay. Do not speak for the first 60 seconds. Not because silence is always the answer, but because your habitual move is to immediately occupy the space with language. And language in that moment is usually about managing your own discomfort, not theirs. 60 seconds, presence only, and notice, really notice, what happens in your body when you resist the urge to fix. That feeling, that low-grade alarm that says do something, that's the wound. You don't have to act on it, you just have to see it. When the 60 seconds are done, ask one question, not what do you need, which sounds supportive but is actually a subtle delegation. It makes them do the emotional labor of figuring out how to need you. Ask, do you want me to just sit here, or do you want to talk? That's it. That's the entire move. Watch what it does to the quality of the connection. The second shift is for the people with a wounded feminine pattern. This week, find one moment where your honest answer is no, and say it. Not embedded in an apology, not preceded by a lengthy acknowledgement of the other person's perspective, just the no, and then a beat, and then you stay warm. You stay in contact, you don't withdraw, you don't explain yourself into the ground. You say no, and you let it be a complete sentence. Watch what you feel when you do this. You will likely feel guilty. You will likely feel mean. You may feel like you've broken something. You haven't. You've told the truth. The guilt is the old system trying to pull you back in. You don't have to believe it. You just have to keep breathing until it passes. Your honesty is not a threat to people who actually love you. It's an invitation. The third shift is for everyone, and it is the hardest one. Start paying attention to which energetic orientation you are in when you feel most alive. Not most comfortable, alive. There's a difference. Comfortable often means familiar. Alive means you are in contact with something real. For some people, they come alive in direction, in clarity, in the moment they make a decision and commit to it fully. For others, they come alive in depth, in feeling, in the moment they let something actually land without immediately processing it into meaning. Pay attention, because the place where you come most alive is probably the place you've been most afraid of, and it is exactly where the next stage of your development is waiting. This is the actual work, not the reading, not the concepts. The moment where you know what you need to do and you feel the resistance and you do it anyway. That moment, repeated, is how range gets built. I want to leave you with something specific. Most people who come to this topic, divine masculine, divine feminine, polarity, all of it, are not actually searching for a framework. They are searching for permission. Permission to be more directed, more clear, more willing to hold a position even when it makes someone uncomfortable. Or permission to be more open, more feeling, more honest about what they actually experience rather than what they've decided they should experience. And the frustrating thing, the thing I keep running into, is that no framework gives you that permission. No podcast, no book, no teacher. The permission was never outside you. What this conversation can do is make it harder to pretend you don't already know which one you need. Because you do know. You've always known. There's a version of yourself that you've been keeping at a careful distance because you've decided it's too much or not enough, or that the people around you couldn't hold it. Some of them can't, and some of them are waiting for it, desperately, without knowing how to ask. The person you become when you stop managing yourself, when you stop holding yourself at that careful middle distance from your own intensity, that person is not more masculine or more feminine in the abstract sense. That person is just more real, more present, more costly to ignore. That's the destination, not a polarity checklist, not a new identity, just the version of you that stopped apologizing for existing at full volume. Go be that, right now, before you figure it out completely, before you've healed enough, before anyone says you're ready. That's all I've got for today. If something in this episode shifted something for you, even slightly, even uncomfortably, tell someone. Not to explain the concepts, just tell them the part that stuck. That's the most useful thing you can do with what you heard today. Subscribe if you haven't, because next episode we're going into something I've been sitting with for months.